Bites of Knowledge with Rader Foods. Today we're going to talk about Gelifiers, the different types, and how to use them properly. So, welcome everybody. So the first Gelifier that we're going to talk about is agar. Agar is a very interesting substitute to gelatin. First, it's plant-based, so that makes it excellent for vegetarian recipes. It comes from a red algae, and it's not only good for savory but also for pastry, and it's really easy to use. One of the things that I love about agar is how simple it is to use. With agar, you have to activate it with heat. So you would get the agar, put it into a cold liquid, and that's very important that the liquid is cold, because if you just put it into a hot liquid, it will clump and you won't be able to disperse it or dissolve it right after. So make sure that you start by putting it into a cold liquid, then you bring it to a boil, and the key is you have a nice rolling boil, maybe 180 degrees. Just make sure it's really boiling, and once it starts boiling, leave it there for a couple of minutes, and that should activate the agar. It's interesting about agar, and it's different from all the other Gelifiers, is that agar will set a room temperature. So at around 90 degrees, it already starts setting, which it makes it great if you're like working really with a pinch in time and you really don't have much time. I used to use agar to do some like panna cottas, plant-based panna cottas, and it will be done and set from beginning to the end, from the moment that I was boiling the liquid to already like set and ready to go. It'll probably take me like 10 minutes, and pretty much that dessert was ready to go. So that's one of the great things. It will just set really quickly. It will set, actually will start setting a little bit warm, but also the great thing is that if it sets too fast, you can remelt it. So agar is very versatile. So some of the agar applications could be really interesting. Obviously you can use it as a gelatin replacement if you want to do something that is plant-based. So you will use it for like a plant-based panna cotta, or maybe to thicken up a mousse. Some of the things that you do need to be understanding is that the texture and the final result of the agar is different from gelatin, in which gelatin is really elastic. Agar gives you a little bit more of a bite to it, a little bit more of like a brittle. If you're making like an agar jelly, when you chew that, you'll feel that it will crumble a little bit. It will be not as a gummy that you will get with a pectin or a gelatin. So that's important for you to understand. It's not going to be an exact apples to apples comparison in the final texture, but still for a plant-based dessert, it will be amazing. It will give you a great result. But some of them, there's other uses that you can use agar for that are really interesting. For example, if you want to do your own fruit caviars and you don't really want to use any other products in it, or like calciums or sodiums in it, you want to use something that is a little bit more natural, you can use agar. You can disperse it, and dissolve it in your liquid, in your fruit puree, and then make sure you have a container with oil, chilled oil. It has to chill for several hours, and then you will get that liquid and just drop it with a dropper, or use a squeeze bottle, and you'll see that once it hits the oil, it will make a sphere of fruit, and then you can just get them out and you have fruit caviar, which is really amazing, and you can do this really fast. The other interesting part about agar is that you can do stuff like fluid gels, in which the same concept. You will get a fruit puree, you will put agar into it, you activate it by boiling it, as we mentioned before. Once it's set, you can put it into a blender and just blend it on high until it kind of liquefies. But the final result, it will be not a liquid that will be running, it will be what we call a fluid gel. And you can use use that on, again, in a squeeze bottle, and you can make dots, you can make lines, and you can do a lot of different things on the plate, and you will have these perfect dots and lines that will not run through the plate, they will not smear, it will hold shape. So that's stuff that you can do agar. And maybe a final thing that we're going to talk about agar is in maybe a savory application. You can do like a plant-based cheese, and this is very fun. That's something that you can experiment at home. Is you can get plant-based milk, whichever is your preference, and then just add salt, pepper, any spices that you want, dry spices. Bring everything up into a boil with the agar, activate it, and then just set it on a mold. And when you unmold it, you're gonna have something like you'll have a plant-based cheese, which could be great, and also it just gives you a diversity to add any flavors that you want to. So that's agar. It's really versatile, savory or sweet, easy to use, and you can find out Rader from Cuisine-Tech. We have pectins. This is another type of gelifier that is also plant-based. Pectin has a diverse use. You can use it for many different applications in the kitchen. So we're going to start with yellow or apple pectin. Yellow or apple pectin, obviously like its name, it comes from the pectin that comes from apple peels. It's used for many different things. You can use it to thicken your jams or jellies. Also, you can, in a greater concentration, you can use it to create gummies or fruit jellies. The way that you activate it is it uses acid and heat to activate the pectin. So you will cook it, acid from the fruit. So if you're doing something that already has some acid in it, like with some tropical fruits, that acid will help you. If not, you can always use something like citric acid to just kick it up a little bit and help activate it. But it's pretty simple to use. It will give you perfect results to thicken jams and jellies, like I said before. And if you're looking for a pectin, obviously you can go to Rader and look for Patty's Friends yellow pectin or Cuisine-Tech apple pectin. Another type of pectin that we have is pectin NH, or also called pectin thermoreversible. This is a very interesting pectin because it differs from the apple pectin that needs acid and heat, sugar to activate. This activates with calcium. So this pectin already includes a little bit of calcium in it, but it gives you a much softer emulsion. It's not so thick like if you're making a hard, or not a hard, but a gummy or a fruit jelly. So this pectin is mostly used for fillings. If you need to make a filling for an insert for a dessert, or maybe a pie filling, or something that you don't need it to be rigid, but have a little bit of ooze in it, you would use this. Just make sure that you have some sort of calcium to activate it in your recipe, but there's also a little bit of calcium in it to help you activate it. It's used for glazes. A lot of glazes that you will see, mirror glazes on shiny desserts, use this type of pectin to create that. And the reason that they use this also is not only because of the texture that it will give you, but also it's thermoreversible, meaning that you can remelt it, which is different from an apple pectin or a yellow pectin that is not thermoreversible, and once it's set, it sets. This one you will be able to remelt it and reuse it if you need to. Again, we have it from Cuisine-Tech. It's called thermoreversible, or if you get the Patty's Friends one, it's called NH, pectin NH. Both great products. So obviously, if we're talking about Gelifiers, the most common Gelifier is going to be gelatin. Gelatin is animal-based, so obviously you cannot use it for plant-based products or vegan uses it because the source of it is animals, and especially collagen. Uh, Gelatin comes in two different types. We have powder gelatin, and then we have gelatin sheets. They will accomplish pretty much the same end result, but gelatin sheets are more popular now because they're just easier to use. You just have to, sometimes on your recipes people have 1, 2, or 3 gelatin sheets, whatever the number it is. When it comes to powder form, you actually have to measure it. But besides that, the result will be the same. Also, the application will be the same, the way that you use it. Both products have to be rehydrated with water before you use them, and typically gelatin takes up to 5 times its weight in water. So if you want to kind of have that rule in the back of your head, so whenever you have 5 grams of gelatin, you know that you're going to need like 25 grams of water to hydrate it, and it will soak most of all, if not all of that water. And it's just a good tip to have. After that, once your gelatin hydrates, you have to put it into heat to melt it into the product. So let's say if you're making like a panna cotta, you're gonna put that rehydrated gelatin into the cream that is flavored with whatever flavor you want, and you just gotta make sure that you bring it up in heat just so it melts. That's all you want. You wanna make sure that your gelatin is completely melted, even though you might pass it through a sieve or a strainer right after. But one of the biggest misconceptions with gelatin is that people will boil. They will boil the products that has the gelatin in it, and there's a curve that once the gelatin reaches a certain temperature, it starts losing its potency. So it starts working less, and pretty much your jellified strength will start decreasing rapidly. So you don't need to boil any product that has gelatin in it. You just need to warm it up high enough to get it melted, and that's it. So the applications from gelatin, it could be a lot. It depends on your creativity, but some of the most common ones is for mousse. If you're doing a fruit mousse that you need to thicken up, you will use gelatin into the fruit purees to kind of give it that structure to your mousse, and so it will not be runny or self-separating. So mousses, fillings that you might want to have, maybe you want to try to do an insert for a dessert, and you want a nice insert that holds in shape, and you're going to put inside your dessert. Some other type of fillings that you just want to give it a little bit of structure. You will use gelatins. A panna cotta is a very common use for gelatin. You will just bloom it in water and then put it into your cream, and that way you can have an unmolded panna cotta. And then the good thing about all the Gelifiers that we have talked about today is that depending on how much concentration you put, your structures will be a little bit softer, creamier, or if you want something that is unmolded, that really holds shape, all you have to do is start increasing that concentration of the Gelifier, and you will get that until you get that structure. So go ahead, go out, experiment with different concentrations and amounts in your recipes, and if you have anything that you want to share or comment on how things are going, just let us know. We'd love to hear from you. So here at Rader, knowledge is our secret ingredient. We would love to hear from you. We would love to help everybody expand their knowledge, and the only way that we can do it is working together. We love to hear from our culinary community, our chef community, our pastry chef community. Let us know how you use these different products, or if you have any tips. This is Rader Bites of Knowledge.